Ishikawa Goemon. His name echoed through the ages, a whisper of rebellion, a symbol of hope for the downtrodden. He was Japan's Robin Hood. Goemon was more than a thief, he was a folk hero. Legends spoke of his ninja skills. His daring heist captivated the imagination. He lived outside the law. He fought for the poor and oppressed. He targeted the wealthy and corrupt. Goemon's name struck fear into the hearts of the powerful, yet it ignited hope in the hearts of the common people. He became a legend in his own time. Japan in the late 16th century was a land in turmoil. The country was fractured, with various regions controlled by powerful warlords who were constantly at war with each other. This period of civil strife and social upheaval is known as the Sengoku period, a time when the samurai class rose to prominence and the common people bore the brunt of the conflict. The Sengoku period was coming to an end, but the chaos it had sown was far from over. The battles were fierce, and the land was soaked with the blood of countless warriors. The samurai, clad in their iconic armor, fought valiantly, but their struggles often left the common folk in dire straits. Powerful warlords clashed for dominance, each seeking to expand their territories and solidify their power. These warlords, known as daimyo, commanded vast armies and built impressive castles to fortify their positions. The samurai served these lords with unwavering loyalty, but their loyalty often came at a great cost to the people. The common people suffered under their iron rule. Peasants toiled in the fields, their hard-earned crops often seized to feed the armies. Villages were burned, families were torn apart, and the people lived in constant fear of the next raid or battle. It was a time of great suffering and hardship for the ordinary folk. Goemon emerged from this chaos. His origins are shrouded in mystery, with some legends claiming he was a fallen samurai who had lost his master and turned to a life of crime. Others say he was a peasant who, driven by the injustices he witnessed, took up arms to fight back against the oppressive rulers. Some say he was a fallen samurai, a ronin who had lost his way. The life of a ronin was fraught with peril, as these masterless samurai often struggled to find purpose and honor in a world that had cast them aside. Goemon, however, found a new purpose in his rebellion against the corrupt and powerful. Others claimed he was a peasant who took up arms, a common man who could no longer stand by and watch his fellow villagers suffer. He became a symbol of resistance, a beacon of hope for those who had lost everything. His transformation from a humble peasant to a legendary figure was nothing short of extraordinary. Regardless of his origins, Goemon's purpose was clear. He was determined to fight for the people, to stand up against the tyranny of the warlords and bring justice to the oppressed. His resolve was unshakable, and his actions would soon become the stuff of legend. He would fight for the people. Goemon assembled a band of skilled thieves and warriors, each one driven by a desire to see justice done. These men and women were not mere criminals. They were freedom fighters, united by a common cause and a shared sense of purpose. He assembled a band of skilled thieves and warriors. Together they planned and executed daring raids on the estates of corrupt officials and wealthy merchants. Their exploits were meticulously planned, and their success was a testament to their skill and determination. They targeted corrupt officials and wealthy merchants. Their exploits became legendary. These were not random acts of theft, they were calculated strikes against those who had grown fat and rich off the suffering of the common people. Each raid was a blow against the oppressive system that kept the peasants in chains. They stole gold and treasures, but their true treasure was the hope they brought to the people. The wealth they amassed was often redistributed to those in need, a Robin Hood-like gesture that endeared them to the masses. Goemon and his band were seen as heroes, champions of the downtrodden. But more importantly, they stole the hearts of the people. The villagers celebrated their victories, cheering for the man who had dared to stand up against the might of the warlords. Goemon became a folk hero, a symbol of resistance and hope in a time of darkness. Goemon and his band were more than thieves. They were symbols of resistance, embodying the spirit of defiance against tyranny. Their actions inspired others to rise up and fight for their own freedom, sparking a movement that would resonate through the ages. They were symbols of resistance. Their defiance against the oppressive rulers was a rallying cry for all who yearned for justice. Goemon's legacy was not just in the gold he stole, but in the hope he ignited in the hearts of the people. They represented hope in a time of despair. In a world where the common people had little to look forward to, Goemon and his band offered a glimmer of light. Their courage and determination showed that even in the darkest times there was still a chance for change. Their legend grew with each daring heist. The tales of their exploits spread far and wide, becoming the stuff of legend. Goemon's name would be remembered for generations, a testament to the enduring power of hope and resistance. Toyotomi Hideyoshi, the ruthless unifier of Japan, rose to power. He crushed his enemies with an iron fist, leaving no room for dissent. His military prowess was unmatched, and his strategic mind was always several steps ahead of his adversaries. He established a rigid social order, one that demanded absolute loyalty and obedience. The samurai enforced his laws with unwavering dedication, ensuring that the hierarchy he created remained unchallenged. The villages under his rule were tightly controlled, and any sign of rebellion was swiftly and brutally quashed. Many celebrated him as a hero, a savior who brought stability to a land long torn by war. Festivals were held in his honor, and people bowed deeply in respect whenever he passed. His name was spoken with reverence, and his deeds were sung in ballads and poems. Others saw him as a tyrant, a man who ruled through fear and oppression. The peasants in particular bore the brunt of his harsh policies. They lived in constant fear of the samurai, who enforced Hideyoshi's will without mercy. Anger simmered beneath the surface, but open defiance was rare and dangerous. Goemon saw the suffering Hideyoshi inflicted. He witnessed firsthand the misery of the peasants, the way they were abused and exploited. The sight of children starving and families torn apart by Hideyoshi's policies filled him with a burning sense of injustice. He witnessed the poverty and oppression that plagued the land. The villages were filled with downtrodden souls, their spirits crushed by the relentless demands of their overlords. Goemon's heart ached for them, and he knew he had to act. He vowed to stop him. Goemon, a man of great determination and courage, began to plot in the shadows. He gathered like-minded individuals, those who shared his vision of a Japan free from Hideyoshi's tyranny. Together they devised a plan that was as daring as it was dangerous. He devised a daring plan. He would assassinate Hideyoshi. The plan was audacious. It was dangerous. But Goemon was determined. He knew the risks, but he also knew that the reward, a free and just Japan, was worth any sacrifice. The night of the attempt, Goemon and his men moved with stealth and precision, their hearts pounding with anticipation. He would risk everything to free the people from Hideyoshi's tyranny. The attempt failed. Despite their careful planning and unwavering resolve, they were no match for Hideyoshi's formidable defenses. The guards were too numerous, too well trained, and too loyal to their master. Hideyoshi's guards were too strong. They fought with a ferocity that left Goemon and his men overwhelmed. The castle's security was impenetrable, and the element of surprise quickly evaporated as the alarm was raised. Goemon was forced to flee. With the mission in shambles, he had no choice but to retreat. The night was filled with the sounds of pursuit, the shouts of guards, and the clashing of swords. Goemon's heart was heavy with the weight of failure, but he knew he had to survive to fight another day. His failure would have dire consequences. The repercussions were swift and severe. Hideyoshi's wrath was merciless, and those who had dared to defy him paid a heavy price. Goemon's dream of a free Japan seemed further away than ever, but his spirit remained unbroken. The fight for justice was far from over. Hideyoshi was enraged. He ordered a massive manhunt for Goemon. Rewards were offered. Informants crawled out of the woodwork. Goemon and his band were on the run. They evaded capture for a time, but the net was closing in. Hideyoshi's forces were relentless. They would stop at nothing to capture the legendary outlaw. Goemon knew the risks. He knew the price of failure, yet he refused to surrender. He would not abandon his fight for justice. Section 5. A gruesome spectacle. Goemon was betrayed by someone he trusted deeply, a person he considered a close ally. This betrayal would lead to one of the most horrifying punishments in history. He and his young son were captured in the dead of night, surrounded by enemies with no chance of escape. The capture was swift and brutal, leaving them no time to react. They were brought before Hideyoshi, the powerful warlord who ruled with an iron fist. Hideyoshi was known for his ruthless tactics and unyielding nature. The warlord was eager for revenge. His eyes burned with fury as he looked upon Goemon, the man who had dared to defy him. Hideyoshi's anger was palpable, filling the room with a tense, oppressive atmosphere. He condemned Goemon to death without a second thought. The sentence was delivered with cold, calculated precision, leaving no room for mercy or compassion. But this would be no ordinary execution. Hideyoshi wanted to send a clear message to anyone who might consider rebelling against his rule. Hideyoshi sought to make an example of Goemon. He wanted to demonstrate the severe consequences of defiance, ensuring that no one would dare to challenge his authority again. He wanted to crush any hope of rebellion. The warlord's goal was to instill fear and obedience in the hearts of his subjects, leaving no room for dissent. He ordered Goemon and his son to be boiled alive. This gruesome method of execution was chosen for its sheer brutality and the terror it would inspire. The execution was a public spectacle. People from all walks of life gathered to witness the horrifying event, drawn by a morbid curiosity and the promise of witnessing a grim piece of history. People gathered from miles around. They watched in horror, their faces pale and their eyes wide with fear. The atmosphere was thick with tension and dread. A large cauldron was brought forth. It was an imposing sight, a grim reminder of the fate that awaited Goemon and his son. It was filled with water, the liquid sloshing ominously as it was poured in. The crowd watched in silence, the reality of the situation sinking in. A fire was lit beneath it. The flames danced and flickered, casting eerie shadows on the faces of the onlookers. The water began to heat, the temperature rising steadily. The crowd could feel the heat emanating from the cauldron, a physical manifestation of the horror that was about to unfold. Goemon was unrepentant. He stood tall before his executioners. He showed no fear. He knew his death would not be in vain. His legend would live on. He was forced into the cauldron. The boiling water scorched his flesh, but still he remained defiant. He held his son above his head. He protected his son from the agonizing pain as long as he could. It was a final act of love, a testament to his unwavering spirit. Goemon's execution sent shockwaves through Japan. His death was a tragedy, but it also served to solidify his legendary status. The people remembered his defiance. They whispered his name in hushed tones. He became a symbol of resistance against tyranny. Goemon's story resonated with the oppressed. He gave them hope. He showed that even in the face of overwhelming power, one man could make a difference. His legend inspired future generations to fight for justice. Goemon's tale transcended time. It became ingrained in Japanese culture. He appeared in countless plays, songs, and stories. He was often portrayed as a noble rogue, a cunning thief with a heart of gold. He was a master of disguise and deception. His legend was passed down through generations. Each retelling added new layers to his story, but the core message remained the same. Goemon fought for the people. Ishikawa Goemon's life was short, but his legacy is eternal. He remains a powerful symbol in Japan. He represents the fight against oppression. His story serves as a reminder that even the most powerful rulers are not invincible, that the human spirit cannot be crushed. Goemon's story continues to inspire today. He teaches us to stand up for what is right, to fight for justice, to never give up hope. His name will forever be etched in the annals of history. He is Ishikawa Goemon, Japan's Robin Hood, a legend for the ages.